What's up, folks? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Today's video, I'm going to go over my Nightmare Hydra team and my pursuit for 1 billion damage. Not points, 1 billion damage without the use of Trunda or any or Yannica or Ironclad or anything like that. Just a generic team. I'll go over some tips and strategies that I use to boost my team's damage significantly. So hopefully you guys can incorporate some of that. And although you might not be hitting 1 million damage on whatever team and difficulty you're tackling, you can at least squeeze out some more damage from your team. So let's jump right into it. All right, so here is my Nightmare team. Yes, I do have Taras in here. He is a great damage dealer. You can definitely use somebody else instead of Taras. He doesn't bring any debuffs or anything super valuable to the team other than really just damage. So you can actually sub him out for Mishinaki. You can sub him out for Varl. You can sub him out for, Toshiro, Garo. Any of the top damage dealers will yield you some pretty strong damage numbers. Same thing with Harima here. Harima is basically here to capitalize on the Mikage A1 bonus, where when Mikage A1s, a Shadowkin champion will come in and attack as well. So Harima's A1 is incredibly strong. You could definitely sub her out for Mishinaki. A good recommendation that you could use is basically sub out Harima and Taras for Mishinaki and Rathalos. Both those champions work very well together. Rathalos obviously was a free login champion and he deals really good damage, but he does need HP burn support. So Wixwell here brings the provoke. He also brings some protection for your team, obviously, with the shields and increased defense. Increased defense obviously works very well for Mishinaki or Harima, which would be my top choices here. You could also use Oboro. Oboro would be very good as well with Mikage. So Mikage can work really well with Mishinaki, Harima, or Oboro. Oboro would be the probably lowest damage, but she still deals pretty good damage. After that, we have AoE decreased defense with the block buffs here from Ugo. Again, if you had somebody like Mishinaki, maybe you can get away without the dedicated AoE decreased defense and then just have somebody else dealing the block buffs. You could bring in Wukong, for example, if you have Mishinaki here. So there's definitely different ways to build a team that functions really well. You just need to cover the certain buffs and debuffs. And then we have Eostrid here with the AoE weaken, as well as the increased speed, AoE decreased speed, Terminator boost. She brings a little bit of healing as well. She also brings increased attack, but we have Mikage here with the increased attack as well already. So which champion has the hex sets? Eostrid actually has the hex set as well as Wixwell here. So we have full hex coverage with these two champions. Mikage is in a 9-piece protection set, which gives you a little bit extra damage. And then we have full damage sets with Harima and Taras. And then we have Ugo here in Relentless, so she can get some of her turns back. So let's run the run, and I'll show you guys some gameplay strategies, and then we'll go over the builds on these champions. And I'll go over what actually pushed this team to new damage heights. Okay, so we're going to start off at 2x speed here. I'll try to talk over what's going on here. So obviously we try to neutralize the head of decay first with the provoke. Wixwell is incredibly good at guaranteeing you the provoke, obviously on the A1 against bosses. In that regard, he's very good. Unfortunately, this run is auto. At least you have to auto manual. You could run it auto, but you still need to manual some of the heads. Obviously, if you're going for a top damage run, you do need to use some manual intervention usually. So we do have a backup revoke here from Harima, just in case. You see some pretty good buffs here. Landing, you see the protection set working from the Mikage as well. So right now we're trying to focus down some of the heads kind of evenly. So that's kind of like my general strategy here, is focus the heads down evenly and then kill the head of decay. So right here you can kind of see we killed the 3 heads, decapitated them. And now we're going to kill the head of mischief. It was the head of mischief that we wanted to leave last. because the Head of Mischief, when you kill her or when you kill it, it actually decreases the turn meter on the decapitated heads, giving you more time to get more damage in against them. Just in case you guys didn't know that, so that's a pretty interesting, way of gameplay. If you guys want to do that, it just increases your time against the decapitated heads. So whether you want to target it individually, there. So it decreases turn meter, gives you more time against decapitated heads. All right. So now it's fully decapitated. Now we're going to town. The damage numbers are quite good. 24 million for 8 turns, about 3 million per turn. So here we go. Lots of buffs going on. I'm targeting Wixwell with his own buff, so that he is, lots of buffs on him. So he is targeted by Mischief. He does have resistance to resist the Mischief steals. The other thing that you want to consider is basically applying Hex with your Hexers to non-hexed heads whenever possible. So the Hex placed on heads definitely deals a ton of damage transferred to them, way more than what a support can do by hitting a debuffed head by itself. So the Hex, I think, is definitely worth it. Aim the Hex at the unhexed heads so that they get more damage against them. You see here, we actually have no way to deal with the Head of Torment other than the cleanses. Obviously, the Intercept helps a little bit here. We have Mikage that does remove the fear once in a while with her A2. But yeah, there's a little bit of issues against the Head of Torment, but honestly, not a ginormous deal here at all. This rotation actually wasn't the best for Force Affinity attackers, so Harima's not super strong here. Magic would have been okay. Obviously Void is okay, so Taras definitely doing very well here. But yeah, so definitely target the heads that are decapitated, obviously, especially if the other heads have Hex on them, because the damage will transfer to them and then pop them off. As you can clearly see what happened here with that head. We were attacking the Force head that had all the debuffs and was decapitated first, and then it ended up popping the other head. Defense down coverage was okay with the Ugo. We do have Relentless on the Ugo to get more chance with the coverage, but this going pretty good. We had it enough. The block bust was good enough. But obviously, the manual play is important to try to get the most out of this team, which is what I was trying to do. So obviously, ally attack. And yeah, like I said, we wanted to make sure that the defense up was active, just to make sure we have the buff on the Harima so that she can deal more damage. Eostrate is crit cap, so she does deal some damage herself. Wixwell applying the decreased attack and the Hex with the AoE, very good. But yeah, this team was very strong. No real danger of dying. No real danger of dying with this team. Eostrate was probably the squishiest one, and because she gets the extra turns, she runs through her buffs quicker. So she runs through the defense up, she runs through the shields a bit quicker, but even for her, no real danger. Manualing the Wixwell A1 to make sure to provoke lands. Very important. And yeah, we're 126 million with 36 turns. So I'm going to let this run play out a little bit, and then we'll skip to the end. It's a pretty long run, just because it's full manual and because we have a lot of stuff obviously going on. We want to maximize the team. And I'll go over some things I've changed and how I got the increased damage boost from this team and how I got the most out of this team. So I'm going to let it run for a little bit here. All right, guys, so we're just going to pick up the action here just before we cross 1 billion damage output. Just over 1,300 turns, so we're going to easily pass 1 billion damage here. You can kind of see here our team's very, very comfortable. No one has died up to this point. Of course, it's still all manual. You could set it to auto, but at the very least, you still need to manual some of the heads. You see Mikage doing the A2 to get rid of provoke debuffs. Very, very good. Targeting the decapitated heads, get more damage. Ross laying big slams. Wixwell, very, very good. Very, very solid. A1 from Mikage into the Harima A1, just freeing the champion in one hit. Pretty insane. We'll go over the gear and all that stuff afterwards. But yeah, just want to show the team crossing the sacred 1 billion damage mark. We'll go to the final results right after this. A1 again, big slam there from the Harima. A1 from Wixwell to control the head of decay. And then block buffs applying. This is a good rotation for Ugo, so she's not going to weak hit often with her AoE decreased defense and block buffs. I did choose to attack the Wrath head there because I had the shields still active on some of the champions, so we can soak up some of the damage there. So no worries right now. Block buffs, stopping the poison cloud, and just about crossing the 1 billion mark. There we go. 1 billion mark at 1345, 3 decapitated heads. Welcoming us into the billion damage club. And yeah, so let's jump over to the final figures and we'll talk a little bit about the damage distribution over there. So let's start moving here. Just finishing up here, we're just about 1.15 billion damage. Obviously, a team can do way more damage if we had a little bit more turns. Maybe I don't feel like my champions are like super fast to the point where they're like taking turns that they shouldn't take turns. Like for example, like if you have like 400 speed supports, then your supports will be taking too many turns and you're not getting maximum damage per turn, for example. But yeah, so there you go, 1.56 billion damage dealt, which gives you a total of 4.6 billion Hydra Clash points. Obviously, in some clans, that's insane. In my clan, it's kind of nothing. But obviously, I want to put my best foot forward and help the guys out as much as I can. Obviously, try to improve wherever I can improve. But here we got Wixwell with 133 million damage. All the damage is going to come from the curse set. He's not really crit capped or anything like that, but damage is going to come from the curse set. He's sharing the cursed, the hex duty with the Ostrid, who basically has identical damage spread, but Eostrid does have damage stats, so she has attack, 100% crit rate, and crit damage. Although I think Wixwell probably attacks more, so he gets more War Master procs. So the damage difference is basically stats with less hex versus worse stats but more hex. But in the end, their damage is the same. Ugo's damage, all War Master, 21 million right there. Harima, 452 million from Harima, obviously boosted up by the Mikage A1. So whenever Mikage A1s, Harima also A1s. Without Mikage there, Harima would deal much less damage. And then we have Taras here, 404 damage, which is insane amounts of damage because obviously he doesn't have the A1 boost from Harima. So if Mikage was not here, then Taras would be doing more damage than Harima. So let's go over what I did differently this week compared to last week. And I'll show you guys a screenshot here. So last week I did 47 million on Nightmare as well. Basically similar time, 116 versus 117. That's kind of crazy. But you kind of see here, Eostrid and Wixwell basically identical, splitting the Hex duty. I didn't really change too many builds here. The biggest difference that I made was basically changing Taras from the 6-star polymorph into 6-star crushing rend, and that was a massive boost. You can kind of see here his damage spread against Harima, 382 million from Harima versus 232 from Taras. And you see this week 452 from Harima, 404 from Taras. So Taras definitely massive boost from the 6-star crushing rend. That's not surprising. But that just kind of shows you guys how much damage you can get from the 6-star blessing there. Also, Lady Mikage, I did switch her up from a generic stone skin build for Arena into a 9-piece protection set. So 9-piece protection set would give a little, obviously extra damage to all your damage dealers, of course. So that definitely helped as well. Everything else basically stayed the same. No real difference in terms of changes for gear. But let's go over some of the gear here, and we'll talk about that. So let's see here. So I'll tell you guys this. There's definitely some things that you can do to optimize your teams. So here's my Lady Mikage. She's in 9-piece protection, like I said. Most of her gear is not fully leveled up because I was just testing out this build. So obviously it can still be improved. She's 319 speed, which is the fastest champion on the team. But obviously 9-piece protection is going to give the team-wide damage boost here. She's not fully booked or anything, but she doesn't need to be. Sheep, if you're fully dedicating your Mikage to Hydra, you probably want her with Cruelty. Cruelty is very important. Having more than one champion with Cruelty, I think, is totally fine, because at the rate that you decapitate heads, you need to have the reduction in defense happen right away and more often. Okay? So her in Cruelty would probably make the most sense. Otherwise, yeah, some of these pieces are not even fully rolled up, not fully glyphed up, for example. Mastery, she definitely could be using offense mastery. She could have more offensive stats. Here are the bonuses that I have. We have plus 20 speed from the Hydra. We do have ignore defense, accuracy, resistance, crit damage. So a bunch of damage stats for Hydra. 339 is her speed, which is the fastest on the roster. Eagle Eye here, it's going to be Arena Mastery. So here's my Taras. Taras is in a 6-piece Merciless set, and ever since I put him in Merciless, it's been night and day compared to his previous lethal gear. So if you guys have a 6-piece Merciless set for Taras, definitely consider putting him on it. Even though it does give you increased attack percentage, it's not the best for Taras. But it's going to give him a lot more of his A2s, a lot more of his A3s, which is where his big damage is going to come from. All right, so I still use this guy in Arena. He's pretty fast, 265, full crit cap with crit damage, good HP. With the bonuses here is 285, 367 crit damage. So pretty good build in 6-piece Merciless set. Like I said, guys, Crushing Ren made night and day difference here. I will say, in terms of the chatter around the couple of the top damage dealing blessings, so there's going to be this one, there's going to be Nature's Wrath, and there's going to be Heaven Cast. Those are the 3 top damage dealing Hydra blessings. So if you have a champion that places debuffs, I would consider using Nature's Wrath, even as a 6-star versus Crushing Rend. Crushing Rend generally on 6-star is probably the best damage dealer in terms of consistency and immediate damage, I guess, because Nature's Wrath does require you to put the debuffs out. You could use Heaven Cast up to probably 5-star, and then once you do 6-star, you probably will rotate out of Heaven Cast into Crushing Rend or Nature's Wrath, depending on your champion. So here's my Harima. She's in a 6-piece Merciless set as well. She's not as quick as Taras. She has a little bit more crit damage, a little bit of accuracy. She is rocking the Heaven Cast here, where she gets percentage damage buff, damage boost for each buff. And I think in terms of just overall consistency, this kind of works fine. Like, you can still use Heaven Cast for like Arena, for example, whereas Nature's Wrath is harder to use in Arena. And Arena kind of doesn't really put too many debuffs super consistently. She doesn't have the accuracy too. So yeah, like I said here, I'm going to go over the Nature's Wrath. Nature's Wrath increases the damage inflicted by his champion by 3% for every debuff they place successfully, up to 15%. So since Hydra is basically one long round, this stacks up basically for the whole entire duration of the fight. It's a little bit of a debate whether which is better, but Nature's Wrath should be better for most damage dealers if they can place debuffs. So we got Wixwell here, great champion, great fusion. He is in Cruelty, and he is using the Curse set. Curse set I find very, very good on him because he does have an AoE to spread his curse. He counterattacks a lot, so when he gets hit by the Head of Mischief, for example, he will counterattack and then plays Hex again. So very, very good. He's decent speed. He does have resistance because he will be targeted by the Head of Mischief. Not crazy stats or anything. 269 speed in a Hex set. He has good resistance to stop the Head of Mischief. Yeah, not crazy stats. 60, not crazy stats, but yeah, Cruelty I find works very well for him. War Masters for some extra damage. After that, we have Eostrit, another actual champion that the more I play with her, the more I appreciate her. I know she's good, right? She's obviously good with increased speed, decreased speed, and the weaken, but the more you play with her, the more you kind of appreciate her because, even her passive is actually not that bad. A little bit of healing as well. And obviously the AoE weaken is incredibly good. So I do have her crit cap. I do have a little bit of accuracy on her so she can land her stuff. With speed, with the accuracy boost, she's good enough. A little bit of attack, not too much. Fully booked, no blessing. If I had a blessing, it would be probably Cruelty on her. Just to make sure that Cruelty is applied more quickly. She is in Helm Smasher, it deals some extra damage. Lastly, we have my Ugo here. My Ugo is in Relentless gear, just so she can get the AoE block buffs back. She is in Cruelty to help out Wixwell. Those stats here with the Hydra bonuses: 294 speed with good accuracy, good HP. Not super necessary, of course, to have such overkill HP. But yeah, guys, that's going to be it for the video. I mean, hopefully you guys enjoyed the showcase of this team. Hopefully you guys can pick up some of the tips that I did lay out for you guys on how to improve the damage for your Hydra teams. Obviously, some of these champions are going to be not accessible. But this is a pretty high-end team. Like I said, you can use Oboro instead of Mikage. If you don't have Mikage, you can use Paudraig. But Mikage is basically just there for additional damage. She also brings the buff, like kind of soft cleanse, soft buff strip. And yeah, Harima is going to be there for damage. Wixwell, Pass Fusion, excellent champion, great for Provoke. Obviously, he's the main Provoke man. Eostrit, Pass Fusion, speed up, speed down. You can definitely use Necmo Thar, for example, kind of a direct replacement. Ugo, very hard to replace the block buff champion. Block buffs are basically handled by Fearow, Tarhanarok, Wukong, in combination with other champions as well. But Ugo not bringing too much damage here. I would love to replace her with something else, but like I said, it's really hard to find the block buff champion, and it's actually kind of hard to find a decreased defense champion too, actually. But yeah, so that's going to be the team here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below if it was helpful for you guys. Appreciate your time as always, and I'll see you guys in the next video.